All right.
We're live now.
Thomas is here today, so welcome. Thanks, Thomas, for coming. And we have Rafa, Nak, and Ken, which have been some of our frequent visitors. Well, Ken's a veteran already, so that's good.
Ken is.
Ken's an everyday person. I get worried if Ken doesn't come to class. So I've messaged him a couple times like, Ken, where are you? Are you sure?
Are you all right?
Okay? What's going on? You're too long at the swimming pool. So good. Well, it's kind of sunny today in Spain. So that's our weather forecast for today. We are going to be looking at the use of commas. Now, this is part 2 of a class I did. When was it? February, I think. So it's been a couple months. So basically, very quickly, what I want to do is review what we looked at then, because let's face it, no one probably remembers what we did in February. But good thing I have my handy dandy comma Microsoft Word document with me for today, the same one. And with that, we are going to start. Well, I'm going to start screen sharing in a second. Hopefully everything works. The comma, share, and there it is. So basically, I'm a pro at this now.
Fantastic.
It's very easy. I can multitask and talk and think all at the same time. So the use of the comma is what we're going to do. Thomas, as you weren't here last time, can you please tell us or read what a comma does?
Comma is used to break up the sentence, but not like a period, full stop. A comma is a little break shorter than a pause. Full
Very
stop.
Nice. I have to put my side in there. So period is American English, full stop is British English for this little dot right here. Okay.
Oh, really? Is it cool? I didn't know that.
What?
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, well,
I only know it as full stop, but it's called a period. Okay. I thought that's something that anyway.
That's different. We have a lot of different meanings for different words. So a full stop could be like, wait, stop, a full stop at a stop sign. I don't know. And not a yielding, or was it a rolling stop? A rolling stop is when you go through a stop sign and you do not stop properly.
Or you crash into another car. That's a full stop as well.
Called an accident. So good with periods and stops here. So perfect. Again, I just want to go over this very quickly to help remind all of us what we looked at last time. So basically, it's normally used to separate words, phrases, or ideas, as you can see in this wonderful example in this sentence. It's separating words. However, when we have a connector, we don't use it here. Okay? That's very important. All right, so for example, we'll just take a look at some of these examples. And when you read these, what I really want you to do is emphasize this. All right, so I'm just going to do the first example so everyone else can see how I'd like this to be done, okay? So it says, for example, the incorrect way is my mother is short. The correct way would be my mother is short. And so you can tell the differences between the intonation and how the sentence flows, or if it stops. We obviously, if you say, "Oh, who's short in your family?" "Oh, my mother is short." It doesn't sound. That would probably be the closest, situation in which you could say a sentence like this. But in general, we do not do this. We have our subject, the mother, verb is, and our complement or adjective in this part is short. So with the subject, verb, and complement, we do not separate those. Okay? Let's see. Moving down. And all it says is we don't use a comma to separate the subject from the main verb. As you can see, I've emphasized the word don't because it's important. All right. So now, I should say, are there any questions? Any questions here? Especially from Thomas.
you've got 3 students, I'm sure. Commas is not an easy one in
No, it's
English,
not.
but you also get away with an awful lot, I
Yes.
think. There's some, I mean, professional writers sort of tear their hairs out and have their hair out because it's dreadful the way most English-speaking people use commas.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that happens on Facebook and other, social networks, as well as, people using, the homonyms incorrectly or the homophones incorrectly.
Yeah, but you see it in papers like The Independent or even The Guardian breaks its own rule guides, and that's what I think people object to a little bit more than a few mistakes on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Well, in this, for example, the other day I saw aloud, and the first aloud is speaking out loud with your voice, or Ken, those are some things I don't think I would ever.
Yeah, symbol are a bit different, but almost same usage in Japanese, probably.
The comma, you mean? That's a comma in Japanese.
And comma and full stop. Yes.
We're halfway there learning the language. We almost speak Japanese now. we can do commas in Japanese before we speak it. I mean, that has to be something.
Perfect. That sounds,
Thank you, Ken. That's
Well, actually, the usage is very similar as far as the comma and full stop in certain moments, because you can have connectors or non-connected sentences. You say, my mother is short, she has blonde hair. Then actually, we can do this 2 different ways. My mother is short, she has blonde, and also there is another way. I think this is the British way, blonde hair. So we have these 2 sentences. Okay, my mother is short, she has blonde hair. Now, with a more advanced person who's more familiar with the English language, we would say, my mother is short, and she has blonde hair if you want. Or, what we can do is just use a comma. When we say this, we don't distinguish really which one we're actually saying, but it also doesn't matter. So my mother is short, she has blonde hair.
In German, I mean, I'm really no good at commas in English, but in German it would be, for example, my mother, comma, who is 21 years of age, comma, is short. So the sub-sentence, if you like, the new sentence in the middle would be separated with a comma.
Sure has. Okay, you actually are describing a relative clause. Is that what that? No. It's a defining, non-defining relative clause, I think, is what it's called in English.
Yeah, that sounds sophisticated.
There's the difference is, for example, you said my mother, who is 21 years old, is short.
Yeah.
Is 21 years old, is short. And then we've stopped the sentence. So what I'm going to do is do this, and that's it. Actually, I'm just going to delete this. And yeah, sure, that is defining, non-defined. I can never tell the difference, honestly, to be completely honest.
And you can make it more complicated. You can say things like, my mother, who is 21 years old, who has a blonde wig and a fat husband, is short.
Yeah, you can add a lot of
and then you can. This is how it works in German. I don't know. I don't know whether that works in English. Does it work in English?
It does, but you normally wouldn't say so much information in such a small sentence.
No, the Germans are great for having like sentences this big, and of course, on the whole, the style in English is to keep things, even in academic writing, to keep things fairly short in terms of sentences. That's why you probably don't have, apart from in letters maybe, you don't actually have that many commas, do you?
Probably not, because we don't write. That's called a run-on sentence. A run-on sentence is when you have too much information.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, I sometimes read sentences in German, and I can't remember how it started because it's like a whole paragraph. So
and it happens in Spanish too, but that's just bad. That's just not correct. Because they just talk and talk and talk, and they don't stop.
But you're saying the rule is the same. So my mother, comma, who is 21 years old, is short. So sub-sentences where you put information in the middle, but completely different, then that is separated by a comma.
Yes.
Okay.
We can also do it. My mother is short. My mother, who is short, has blonde hair, for example. Then it's another one of those clauses. My mother, who is short, has blonde hair. So it's also information, but you're not putting that information, you're not separating this full sentence. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's still one sentence, basically.
Exactly. And it's fine, but it doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, my mother, who is short, has blonde hair. Well, then it still would be the same idea with the commas, because there's one in which you use the commas and the others which you don't. I should actually personally review that. But any students who want to help out in this case?
Come on, Ken, you know this one.
Right.
Come on, you know this one. Raphael.
Lend me a hand.
Yeah, I know that's how can I say it? Inserted paragraph thing. Yes. At the beginning, I was confused, but after I noticed the rule, my mother is short, and in between these is a kind of different thing. So, yeah, that part of the structure is very different from Japanese, I guess. I don't know about that. Yeah, but I understand now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think what we should do now is continue on, just so we can see some other different sentences here. Let's see. I'll go backwards there. Rafa, could you please read these? And as you can see, my Word document doesn't like this, so we're just gonna ignore once, and it disappears. All right. So go ahead and read these, please.
Okay. Compound subject, object. Incorrect. John, comma, and Nancy have worked together for 6 years. Correct. John and Nancy have worked together for 6 years.
Okay, so we have two subjects here, so we can't separate them. There's no reason why we should separate this. If you wanted to add a comma anywhere, I would say it would be here. And again, then you would have different information. John and Nancy, who are 18, have worked together for 6 years for something like that. Okay. But you cannot separate the two subjects.
I have a feeling that you can't follow a comma if there has been an end, like John and Nancy.
Like a connector, yeah.
I don't think you can have a comma after that. But that's just theory. You might say you're completely...
No, you're right. You're on the right track. Like I said, Jade actually caught me on that once, and I was like, oh my God, how embarrassing. I'm trying to teach her, and I'm just like, no, but I know, but I say it. So, and then we have two other examples here. Okay, good. Yes. And so I think, Knock, could you read these two sentences? These two here on this page?
Yes. Incorrect. Shara is wearing a black shirt, comma, and pink skirt. Correct. Sarah is wearing a black shirt and pink skirt.
Good. And so when you have the comma in there, it sounds it doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound necessarily correct because you don't need to separate these.
And also you cannot have a comma before an and.
Well, oh no, where's my description? Okay, well.
I'm fairly certain about that. I don't think you can have a comma before an end because the end actually replaces the comma anyway.
It does.
Because you could actually theoretically, I think it's still grammatically correct if you're saying Sarah is wearing a black shirt, comma, no, you can't. actually. Pink shirt.
Well, we wouldn't just use a comma pink shirt because you need to distinguish kind of the difference between a shirt and a skirt. We have two different nouns here. If you say Sarah,
it appears we have lost Becky. So Nock, yes, of course I remember you. I mean, I don't think it's been 3 years though. I think it's been a couple of years. Nock, so, I don't know. Maybe you'll correct me, and I'll have to go back to my timeline. Yeah, that was a spectacular crash. I think. I think the computer probably crashed.
Seems like that.
So Raphael, where are you from?
I'm from Brazil.
From Brazil, excellent, brilliant. So you
Thomas?
Yeah, we just getting on with.
Hey, what happened? Where's my presentation?
I don't
Too many
know.
commas, I think.
Good answer. Good answer.
What happened? But you don't. But my camera's not on either.
No. We have you.
I disappeared, basically?
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on. I was still talking that whole time.
Well, I'm afraid you might have to say it again. The presentation is desperately trying to come through. There we are. It's sort of working now.
Well, that's strange. Okay, well, I don't know what happened. Blackout. And I don't know what you last heard. So basically what I was saying is that with even two colors, Sarah is wearing a black and pink shirt. Even if we eliminate and put a comma.
Shirt, not shirt.
Well, I chose a shirt in this case. I'm only down to one noun in this last sentence, not two. Okay, I have two colors. So Sarah's wearing a black and pink. We have our two colors, and then our noun, whatever it may be, shirt, skirt, whatever. But even with the two different colors, we wouldn't use a comma.
Right.
All right. As far as I know, that's what I said.
That's where we got to, and I think that is correct.
Okay. Good. Well, then I'm just going to delete this for a second, and then we'll move on here. And so, Ken, it's your turn. So what I'll have you do is read this part. Next kind of ones that we're going to look at.
Commas between two verbs in a predicate sentence. Predicate means that the subject is doing two things using two verbs in a sentence.
All right. So in order to understand this better, I think what we'll do is just move down here. And Mr. Thomas, it's your turn to go ahead and read these sentences. And this is basically what you're talking about. So
Judy will play the guitar and sing at the concert. And I don't think that is possible.
Right.
Yeah, oh yeah, it says it correct. Sorry. I should read what it says. For the very simple reason, because you can't have a comma before an end. Mm-hmm. Because you have the connectors already. Judy will play the guitar and sing at the concert is correct without a comma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's basically what that big word predicate means. So just that there's the same subject, Judy in this case, doing two things, two verbs, okay, at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Then a new word, predicate.
Good. So not before connectors is basically the reason for that. And that's what Thomas is saying with the but however you do use a comma normally after, only because however is used at the beginning of a sentence. I should say when the word however is used at the beginning of a sentence, we normally pause after to give it kind of that emphasis. However, this day we were talking about blah, blah, blah. Okay, but when however is used within the sentence before, we wouldn't use it, but potentially after. Lots of different connectors. All right. So in this case,
there are certain words that if you do academic writing anyway, normal sort of letter writing, it's okay, but you know, like henceforth or therefore or whatever, you should really avoid, because it just becomes tedious. They are separated with comma, you're right, but it's just, you don't, it's just not a very good way to write. You don't use bridging words basically when you do academic writing.
Exactly. So thank you, Thomas. Rafa, I believe it's your turn to read these sentences.
Okay. Incorrect. I wanted to go running, but I didn't feel like it. It was cold. Correct. I wanted to go running, but I didn't feel like it. It was cold. I had, okay.
Yeah.
I had eaten breakfast before she arrived.
This, I think, was a conversation from the other time that we had done this. So I'll save this for a second and focus on the sentences. All right. And so in this case, this comma is before the connector but. As Thomas is saying, with and we don't, and also with but we don't, and plus all of the other connectors. All right. We just don't. There's kind of like this actual pause that's there implied when we have the word but here or any other connector. However, here we do need it. Does anyone know why?
Because without comma, maybe we need to read and feel like it was cold. So
yes,
there's a pause necessary.
It's an addendum, yeah.
Exactly. But if you think about it, I didn't feel like it, period. And then we say this, it was cold. That's okay too. But if it's written, we might do it like this. Okay. And so really it's fine to have these two words together. And that's where this conversation came up last time about using two of the same words together. We don't always need a comma or a period to separate the sentences. For example, I had breakfast before she arrived. Basically, this verb have we use with breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, whatever. But in this case, I think people would normally say, I had eaten breakfast. Just so we don't have two hads here. All right. And this first had is the auxiliary verb. And then this had is the main verb, which is also eat or eaten in this case, because it's conjugated. Thomas, did you follow that now that you're learning another language?
Well, I have to be honest. I'm not even sure Italian has. How many time forms are there in English? But obviously, had is a particularly nasty one. So I had eaten breakfast, which is correct, of course. But I don't think. I think when one starts learning a language, you're probably best to stick to things like simple past and.
Yeah, well, the present tense and the past tense and kind of the very basic future. So yes,
yeah, I think at the beginning, I'm not gonna. If it even has that time form, that's the other thing. I have a feeling Italian has very few time forms.
Really, in Spanish they have more than English.
Oh, right, okay. So maybe I'm wrong. I know that. Well, I've looked at the verbs and conjugating, and I can tell you there's quite a lot to do in terms of that, because every time the time form changes, I've learned that, also the conjugation changes. It's like, oh my God.
Well,
and you just have to learn it. You just have to learn it.
You do, and that's the most difficult part. I think for me, when I was learning Spanish, I learned the present simple on it. Obviously, you always do. I was like, Spanish is so easy. And then it was like, hey, let's learn past tenses. Past tenses? What? You don't just speak in the present all the time? And I was like, oh my God, this is so much harder than I expected. So it's quite complicated. I think to learn a very basic level of any other language is probably not too difficult. Let's say that. Once you get to the point of really feeling the language and, you know, things naturally come out of your mouth and you're like, ciao, bayo, or whatever, you know, like that, and you feel it. That's
I am certainly not there yet.
Yeah, I can see that.
I do have a very nice teacher, Sylvia, and also I've got two teachers actually, Carmine as well. So anyway, it's interesting learning a new language. But yes, let's go back to commas. So
yes. So moving on. So we use a comma to separate the sentence so the reader isn't confused. That's another important part of this. So not to confuse people. So reading a language is much different than speaking. While speaking, we can express ourselves by using intonation, elongating words, using expressions, etc. When reading, we must make up that information so it makes sense. Okay. And so if I say, hello, Thomas, you're not going to think I'm very excited about seeing him today. And I'm like, hey, Thomas, how's it going? Then you can see the intonation and the elongation of hey, and not just hey.
Let's not go completely over the top. Hey, Becky.
That's also my.
Okay, Ken. Hey, Raphael.
So, you know, that's how we kind of use and play with the language a little bit. And so that's why reading is so different than speaking. And this will happen in novels, for example. When you read a book, you might see, you know, a lot more commas because it's how the author expresses how someone speaks. Okay. Any questions with this so far before we go to the examples?
Yes, I have a question. Hat. How do you pronounce in your daily life? Maybe hat? Maybe
yeah. Normally
there's a huge risk of it sounding like the hat,
an idiot,
like something you put on your head. And the reality is, I can honestly tell you, I don't think you'll come across this very often. It exists, obviously, and you know, I know what it means, but I don't think, you know, you could get away with 8 instead, for example, or, you know, she ate breakfast before, whatever, she arrived. I ate breakfast before she arrived. It's slightly different meaning because it's had suggests it's completely finished and all the rest of it, but it gets across roughly what you mean. So I think, I don't know, Becky, do you think it's had is used?
It happened to me multiple years, many years ago, that it actually came out and I was like, whoa, can you say that? Like, this is like in my teens, literally. I remember that moment. And it is true. I mean, it's the past perfect. So we have the had as the auxiliary of the past perfect. And then we have the third column, or the past participle of the verb have, because the real word is to have breakfast or to eat breakfast. So, I mean, I think a lot of us try to eliminate it or not use it because it sounds strange, even though it is correct.
I see. Okay.
And to pronounce it, it's a soft D. It's not a T. So it's not hat. It's had. So de. So that's the actual pronunciation. And to pronounce the word twice in a row is actually quite difficult. And to do it really well, you probably come from Oxbridge.
You'd probably hear I'd had.
Yeah.
I'd had more commonly if you're going to use
but that means I would have. No. That's right. Oh, yeah, okay, you're right.
It can mean I would have. No, it actually can't be would, because then this would have to be in the infinitive form.
Yeah.
So I love speaking about grammar with you, Thomas. Now we have a whole new world of conversations to have. Gosh, it's been like 3 years and I can't have a grammar conversation. So
well, you know, I still prefer our conversations about food and
anything else,
politics, and I don't know.
I'll save my grammar
Brazilian politics, Japanese politics, European politics. You know,
anything with grammar. That's okay. I'll save my grammar conversations for Jade because she enjoys them as much as I do.
I know she loves them. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see here. And knock. I see that. Is it pronounced like head? No, there's a soft E in head. Had. So there's a difference there too. So Knock, it's actually your turn to read these examples if you'd like. Knock, you're there, right? You can hear this? Oh, maybe your microphone isn't working. I hear something.
It's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Incorrect. Jamie saw her friend who was crossing the street and waved. Correct. Jamie saw her friend who was crossing the street, and waved.
So as you know, Thomas has repeated, as he knows, you can't have this comma before and. And again, we don't need anything in between these two verbs because Jamie is still doing the action. Okay, in both of the, Jamie saw her friend who was crossing the street, and Jamie waved in this case. Actually, you know, Thomas, I'm sorry, incorrect in this case because we need this because Jamie waved. So it does depend on the context, but normally you wouldn't. And this actually basically is kind of the whole subject of the sentence. Jamie saw her friend who was crossing the street. It all goes together. We can't say Jamie, comma, saw her friend.
You can't, no.
So
yeah, that's why it has to be before street. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that sounds completely right. Funny
isn't that strange? Yes.
Yeah, it is. But yes, you would have a comma there. Jamie saw a friend who was crossing the street and waved. Yeah.
Because if not, it sounds...
it's a new sentence almost, isn't it? And waved. Yeah.
Well, and that's why English is difficult in this aspect, because if we use the incorrect sentence and don't have the comma, it sounds like her friend is waving, and that's fine. But if it's Jamie that waved, we want to point that out.
Yeah.
So that's that sentence. And then we have something called the comma splice. Let's see, whose turn is it? Ken, it's your turn. Why don't you read this definition and the examples right away, okay?
Okay.
And I'll move down.
This is the most common mistake when writing. This happens when you join two clauses together incorrectly. Incorrect. I didn't have any cat food. I went to the store. Correct. I didn't have any cat food, so I went to the store. Add a connector.
And so what they're saying is this is basically something that's very incorrect. I didn't have any cat food. I went to the store. Technically, that's not a comma, but a period.
Right. Because,
and so that's why it's incorrect when it's written.
Right.
And then I have so here. Again, normally you wouldn't use these before, so now I'm even questioning this. I didn't have any cat food, so I went to the store. We actually don't even need a comma because we have the connector. So that's what I would do here. All right, good.
The correct case, there are two sentences. So without comma, it's not correct.
Actually, there are two different meanings. If you put I didn't have any cat food, full stop, I went to the store, the meaning is different from when you say I didn't have any cat food, therefore or so I went to the store. It's actually there are different meanings if you put so, I think. Is that right, Becky?
So in there, between so and therefore, they both kind of tell me
as a consequence of not having cat food. Therefore I went to the store. But if you just put it as two sentences, I didn't have any cat food, I went to the store, they're actually just two sentences.
Well, and that brings me down to these. Hold on, you're jumping ahead. This is, I didn't have any cat food at a semicolon, which Ken and I hate semicolons, don't we, Ken? I went to the store. We could do, I didn't have any cat food, period. I went to the store, just add a period. And then it says, sometimes comma splices can be okay. For example, when we have the expression, I came, I saw, I conquered. And that's for more poetic or artistic writing. So it's like there are rules, but you know, we always have that other side of the English language, which are the exceptions. All right. So have we found all of your ways to correct this? I'm just gonna, yep, this is a comma, and I'm just gonna put this back to how it was. All right. There. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we have lots of different options in these cases. And that brings us to the comparative tense. All right. And I think Ken read last. I'm going to read this, and then Thomas, I'll have you read the example. So we never use a comma in the comparative tense sentence. Well, in a comparative tense sentence. And this is more focused on some of the grammar ways, some of the grammar things that we have. Oh gosh, it's terrible. I can't. I always say, Ken. Thomas, please read the 2 examples.
The dog, brackets, comma, bracket, open brackets, comma, closed brackets, is bigger, open brackets, closed brackets, comma, than the cat. The dog is bigger than the cat. Yeah, it's one sentence.
Exactly.
The dog is bigger than the cat.
Subject, verb.
Now I have some of the meat. Yes, no, you would.
Complement.
Okay. People
That's
do.
basically it.
People do, and you sometimes see it in official writing, and it's very irritating.
Terrible.
Yeah, it looks awful.
It does, and you know, even if these didn't have the brackets, it would be the dog is bigger than the cat. It's like, I mean, if you wanted someone to say the dog is bigger than the cat, I would do these. This is called the ellipse. The dog is bigger. You would do that. Okay, so maybe they said, you know, it's impossible for dogs to be bigger than cats. Oh, but this dog is bigger than the cat. So, you know, by writing it very artistically, sure, you can play with the language a little bit and use different punctuation marks. But as far as just a general sentence, the first one that's incorrect is absolutely ridiculous. So don't do that. Questions?
No, I think that's it all. Once you know what a comparative tense is, it's really easy.
I'm sure it is. What about question tags? You must use a comma with question tags. Thomas, do you know what a question tag is?
No.
Ken, do you know what a question tag is? Pop quiz for the team.
That question mark?
No, a question tag. No, that's a question mark, definitely. But a question tag. Grammar. Ooh, nobody knows. No,
Raphael, come on.
I was gonna say. Anyone?
I don't know what question tags mean. Do you?
I hope Becky does, because otherwise you forget.
He just did it. He just gave an example.
A correction.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so
you won, Raphael. With it? Okay. Yeah.
You don't know what a question tag is, do you? Is that what you said? That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So more grammar.
You've definitely won this round.
Yeah, that was like a +1. I was like, whoever gets this right gets 1 point, but you get like 10 for that. So, you know, that was amazing. Thank you. So the example, the correct way is she is from Australia, isn't she? What we do with question tags is we have a phrase, just a normal sentence, she is from Australia. But we're adding this question tag because it tags on to the end of the sentence. And it's asking a question. When we use this, it's really asking, isn't she? It's making this confirmation of, yes, she is from Australia. No, she isn't. So basically, it's not a sentence until you get to the comma, and then you have the other part. And basically, this depends on the verb tense. So this is in the present simple. It's a positive or affirmative sentence. So in the question tag part, what we do is take the same verb. It could be a modal verb or any verb. And we do the opposite. This is the no, this is just the verb to be. Isn't, so we make it negative, and then we use the same subject. Even if we had, for example, Sally here, we would still use she at the end. We always use the subjects or the pronouns. We do not use isn't Sally because that sounds funny to us. Okay? And as far as Rafa's example, you don't know what a question tag is, do you? We're using the present simple again. It's negative, now positive, or in the affirmative sentence. And then again, the same subject, you. Any questions? Lots of grammar, right?
Okay, so that's a definite comma. I wouldn't.
Yeah, you have to have that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I probably would have put one there, but I certainly wouldn't have known the rule.
Well, that's why it's a question tag. It's dividing, you know, you have to make this separation. It's not a different sentence. And isn't she? I mean, sure, maybe Thomas says she's from Australia and I say, isn't she? But it doesn't really sound very natural when I say the part of isn't she? And so again, it's just to kind of add more information. If you're looking to have a conversation with someone, question tags are amazing. Just to keep the conversation going. Oh yeah, that statue's made out of stone, isn't it? Oh yeah, I think it might be this stone. Blah, blah, blah. So again, it keeps the conversation going. This is good for any exams as well.
So in this case, there's no pause. You know, with comma. Maybe Sarah is from Australia, isn't she? We don't need to pause.
Not a very dramatic pause.
Okay.
She's from Australia, isn't she? There is a small distinction because I'm grouping, I'm saying all of this relatively quickly, and then I'm also grouping isn't she together. So there is this separation, but it's not a very dramatic, like the next person to win. You know, it's not like that.
The Grand National is.
Thanks, Thomas. All right, so directly addressing someone. Who's my next reader? I've forgotten. Is it Ken? Because Knock read some sentences.
I think it is
I
Ken.
think it's Ken. I think it is Ken. All right, Ken, come on down. Let's read some of this. Oh, let's read what I have on here, okay?
Directly addressing someone. When addressing someone specifically, you normally pause slightly after saying their name in order to get their attention.
And that's basically it. So here are the examples. Thomas, do you want to read these?
Yep, incorrect. Mum, I'm going out. That's incorrect. He's not going out. No, only Mum, I'm going out, comma, bye. Mum, comma, I'm going out, comma, bye. Wow.
As it says up here, you're basically
I'm
just
not
pausing.
sure I agree with that one.
See, and I like this one. I'm a big comma user. So for me, it says, Mom, I'm going out. Bye. You know, and this bye could be a completely different sentence, but bye doesn't have to be part of this. Mom, I'm going out. All right. And this is like it says, it's you normally pause slightly, not a lot, just a bit, after saying their name in order to get their attention. Mom, I'm going out. Bye. What do you think now, Thomas?
Well, I'm thinking, for example, if you write letters and you say, dear sir or madam, the rule, for example, has changed, hasn't it? Because it used to be with a comma, and now it's not. And that's what the style guide says. I'm thinking that's quite a loose rule, this one.
Probably. Like I said, I like it because I think I overuse commas. And I know that, and I'm okay with that. And I think there's.
It sort of works because they're sub-sentences, but it does make it feel a little bit choppy for me. If I
Because it's a short sentence.
Yeah, if it were a longer sentence, then I probably would say okay. But this sounds abrupt to me.
Right. I mean, for example, if you say, "Mom, I'm going out with Tom, and we're gonna go to the bar."
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's fair enough.
Bye. You know,
He's
if
gonna
it's
drive
longer.
him to the bar, and then he's gonna come back drunk. And...
He's forcing me to the bar again. So yes, I think that we can agree on that. And that is the end. So perfect. So Thomas, I'm leaving. Bye.
Is that with a comma or without one?
That was a comma.
Just to answer briefly Nob's question in terms of pronunciation for had, H-A-D, there is a difference between a head and had. And it's very slight, so it's you get away with pronouncing it like the head, but it's different. I think that's correct, Becky. Yes.
No, it is, and I think with, for example, head, as we have two different sounds at least in the English language for some of the words. For example, the word come in. It sounds like a little I at the end, even though it's the letter O. I'm writing in Spanish. For example, the word lettuce. I pronounce my double T's or single T as a D. And the lettuce, the U also sounds like an I. Welcome to English. And so what we're doing with head is it sounds like H-E-D. It's a very soft E, such as in the word egg. And with the word had, it sounds like apple, the A from apple.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and these are both the short sounds.
I'm glad we cleared that one up. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you, no? Hello? Hello?
He sometimes takes a bit to.
He
took a nap. He's sleeping.
He's probably sleeping. Well, you know, he's...
Question tag got to him. He said that's enough.
He's probably using some virtual private network to get out of China. I don't know. I'm only kidding.
He's in Vietnam.
Oh, well, that's all right then.
Okay, well, fantastic.
It's an awful long way, Vietnam. So not
that's very true. I also think that's why it sometimes takes him a bit. I'm just going to double check my schedule for now. We're in April. Gosh. Hey, Thomas, I'm going home in September.
I saw. Well done.
So I'll have to work on some classes there.
I think James has got some stuff for you, doesn't he?
I did email him today, and I got a response, but not the exact response I'm looking for. And he said he'd email me when he got home. So
yeah, he's flying back this afternoon, so he should be back at 4. But I don't think his priority will be to write to you straight away.
Probably not. So that's okay. Next week, Monday, what we're going to do is actually, I'm not going to be the investigator teacher, but you are. So whoever comes to class, what we're going to do is have some sentences that have some mistakes. And what I want you to do is to find them. And I'm quite excited about that because it should be a lot of fun. And it's completely grammar based. And so I'm going to be just super happy that day because I love that class. I love grammar classes. And that's it.
I can't make that one because I've got my own lesson.
Darn, I kind of had a feeling you wouldn't come.
No, it's I'm learning grammar, but different grammar.
Yes.
Are, ire.
No idea.
Yeah. No, I don't know that.
Or there's the conjugations to the endings of the verbs?
Yeah, it's the endings of the words.
Thank you, Spanish background, for knowing that.
Yes, you've got regular ones and you've got, I'm learning the regular ones, and you've got irregular ones, which then you just have to learn because they're irregular.
Mm-hmm. So. In Spanish, they have stem changing verbs, and that's I get it, and the ending. So, very good. Well, thanks everyone for joining, especially Thomas, the guest of the day. He's always, nice when the boss is here to come and join us. So yeah, hopefully we'll have a great time next Monday. I'm excited for it. Should be fun.
Great. Have a great. What's the one after that? I might be able to make Wednesday.
The next one is about business
dinner. Okay. Cool.
And Thomas, I will send you the June report as the June schedule as soon as possible.
Yeah, I probably won't do them before the weekend. So because I tend to work those kind of things, I tend to do over the weekend if I can.
That's fine, as long as my part's out of the way, then there's nothing on me. So give it to you and say goodbye. So with that,
bye, Ken.
Great day.
Okay, thank you
And
very
we'll
much.
see you soon.
Bye bye.
Take care, Raphael. Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye.